Hello, dear primary 4 students. I'm Mrs. Dua, and this is our first lesson in Concept 1 of Unit 3, Devices and Energy. عنوان مفهومنا الأجهزة والطاقة. I'm sure when you hear the word energy, you remember many things we have learned together in the first term. For example, we have learned that all objects around us have energy. Also, we have learned about two main types of energy, kinetic and potential energy. We knew these facts when we thought together about the types of energy that a roller coaster has when it's at the highest point of the ramp. فاكرين كان بيبقى عندها ايه؟ Yep, it's potential energy, which means the energy is stored in an object. When the roller coaster starts to move down, the potential energy changes into another type, which is, that's right, kinetic energy, which is the energy that moving objects have. We also knew a very important fact that energy can be stored and changed from one form to another, like the energy stored in a car gasoline, which has potential energy in the form of chemical energy. And when used in cars, it changes to different forms, such as kinetic energy that make the car move, the light energy in car lights, or the thermal energy coming from the engine heat. قبل كده اتكلمنا عن طاقة الوضع اللي هي البوتنشال انرجي اللي بتتخزن جوه الأجسام وطاقة الحركة اللي موجودة في الأجسام المتحركة. وعرفنا إن الطاقة ممكن تخزينها أو تحويلها زي ما بيحصل في العربية بالظبط. Even a simple flashlight or a torch like the one I hold, it needs a battery to work. جواها بطارية عشان تشتغل. This battery stores energy in the form of chemical energy, and when we turn on the flashlight, it changes from chemical potential energy to light energy that give off a light like this one. And if I put my hand, I think it produces also thermal energy, the one that I feel when I move my hands closer to the light. أكيد كلكم جربتوا الإحساس ده. Now, after we have reviewed together, we are ready to start our lesson. Let's prepare our tools and science book. And the first thing we all will do is to open the book on page 4 to look at the key vocabulary we will learn throughout the concepts. In this concept, for us to remember the key vocab, each one of you will be a vocab detective. Yes, a detective, مستكشف المصطلحات. You will bring small papers, like any paper you have at home, or use a notebook. Every time we find a sentence that includes one of the key vocab, we will write it down to help us reach the definition. I will also do the same thing and tell you what I collected at the end of each lesson. Then, we will see who will explore the largest number of key vocabulary. عايزاكم أي جملة تقابلكم فيها المصطلحات اللي احنا هندرسها تكتبوها في الورق ده عشان تقدروا توصلوا للتعريف بتاع الكلمة دي لوحدكم. Sure, you are all wondering now what else can we learn about energy? Well, look carefully at these devices. We always use them at work or at home, such as computer, vacuum cleaner, dishwasher. The operation of these devices depends on energy and its transformation. For example, can we put food in a refrigerator without connecting the plug to electricity? Of course not, because the refrigerator can only operate with electrical energy. And part of the electrical energy turns into light energy that lighten inside the refrigerator. في الثلاجة طاقة كهربية أو كهربائية هتتحول لطاقة الحرارة اللي جوه الثلاجة وكمان هيبقى فيه نور جوه الثلاجة. Also the dishwasher works with electrical energy that turns into sound energy in the dishwasher and kinetic energy that operates the dishwasher from the inside. even the mobile that you are holding now. When it runs out of charge, we connect the charger to electricity to power the mobile again. طيب تعالوا نفكر في طريقة تانية لشحن الموبايل. Now think with me. If we can use another way to charge the mobile rather than connecting the charger to electricity, what type of energy can we use? And what energy transformations will occur to power the mobile? This is the main question that we will need to answer during studying of the concept, which is what kinds of energy transfer must occur for light from the sun to power a cell phone. تاني السؤال كده، يا ترى ايه تحولات الطاقة اللي هتحصل لطاقة الشمس عشان تقدر تشغل الموبايل؟ Surely once you heard the word sunlight, many questions come to your mind. Is it possible to charge a mobile with the solar energy? If so, how will the solar energy transfer the power to the mobile? To organize your ideas, open your book on page 5, activity 1, titled Can You Explain? In activity 1, Can You Explain? We will focus on the picture in the book in front of you and read the question again. What kinds of energy transfer must occur for the light from the sun to power a cell phone, which is called mobile? هنفكر في تحولات الطاقة اللي هتحصل لضوء الشمس عشان تقدر تشغل الموبايل. While thinking, I want you to apply all the information you studied before about energy, motion, and work. And also think how energy transformations can power the devices. What are the main energy transformations that must occur to the sun to turn solar energy into a type of energy that can charge a mobile? هنركز قوي على تحولات الطاقة، خصوصاً تحولات الطاقة الشمسية. Now, let's write down our ideas. I guess you used important information you learned in the first term in STEM in action activities. When we said that, we can use other sources other than gasoline to move cars. This source is exactly sunlight. The sun is a very important source of energy. Most of the solar energy reaches the earth in the form of light and heat. معظم طاقة الشمس هتوصل للأرض في هيئة حرارة وضوء. Do you remember how sunlight is collected and absorbed to power a car? إزاي؟ Right, by solar energy cells. This is the source that power a car to move. السيارات اللي بتشتغل بالطاقة الشمسية لازم يكون عندها خلايا الطاقة الشمسية عشان تقدر تجمع ضوء الشمس وتحوله لطاقة تانية. So, to understand energy transformations, we must think about the source of energy first. For example, the car in front of me here. Can it move by itself? Of course not. It needs a pushing force from me to move forward. لازم أعمل لها قوة دفع عشان تتحرك. So, I'll be the energy source that makes the car move. What if I didn't touch the car? Can it move? It's quite impossible, right? Unless I give it an energy source like batteries. طيب, do you think that batteries are enough to make this car move to different distances and directions? Of course, I need a tool to control the car movement. Like what? Like the remote control. But is it still not moving? Let's try. It's not moving because I forgot to add energy source to the remote control. As it also needs batteries. يبقى لازم نحط في الكار وفي الريموت كنترول batteries to work them. Okay? When we install batteries in both of them, we are ready to work. Let's try now. Both of them, they have battery. So let's try. It's working. Okay. To control the car, we must have batteries, which are the energy source that helps me to control the car and move it in any direction. Let's think deeper. Where does the energy of the battery itself originally come from? How is the energy stored in it? How does the energy in it turns into another form when we turn on the remote control? To go deeper into all these questions, we will start activity 2. Ask like scientists. In activity 2, ask like a scientist, energy in remote-controlled cars. Energy in remote-controlled cars. We are going to read the text on page 6 in your book. As we read, we want to prepare our answers to all the questions we asked about the source of energy inside the batteries. We also need to think about the source of energy that powers the devices we use in our daily lives. We knew from the text that there are types of remote-controlled toys, such as what? Such as cars and planes. We can move these toys at any direction, angle, or speed from a distance using a remote control. As you have seen in the car that I showed you. Let's explain together on the board the most important information that we need to focus on. احنا دلوقتي هنفهم بالتوضيح ايه اللي بيحصل جوه اللعب اللي بتشتغل بريموت كنترول. What is the thing used in all these toys to move? Exactly, the electrical energy that come from a certain energy source, which is what? Which is the battery. So, let's here write battery. والباتري دي بتبقى موجودة جوه ايه؟ بتبقى موجودة جوه التوي بتاعتي. مثلا لو أنا بتكلم على توي كار فالباتري بتبقى جواها. أوكي؟ طيب الباتري دي هتطلع إيه؟ الباتري it will produce electric أو electrical energy. So we will say that the battery give the car electrical energy. طيب the battery will power the toy to its main job. زي ايه مثلا؟ ايه الجوبس اللي ممكن عربية لعبة تعملها؟ Such as motion, sound or lights. So the electrical energy هتتحول لإيه؟ electrical energy هتتحول يا إما لموشن يا إما لساوند يا إما للايت. وما تنسوش ان احنا بنتكلم على العربيات اللعبة. اوكي؟ فاكرين طيب البطارية كان جواها طاقة اسمها ايه؟ chemical potential energy. جوه الباتري chemical energy. طيب has anyone tried to guess what is the source of energy in the batteries? You might say that to fill a battery with energy it must be charged, as we have seen when the mobile runs out of charge. The text explains the options that we have when the battery is exhausted. يعني إيه battery is exhausted؟ يعني البطارية تخلص. النص وضح لنا نعمل إيه لما البطارية تخلص. We can either recharge it or replace it with a new battery. خلونا هنا نوضح ده. لو البطارية بتاعتنا خلصت عندنا two options. يا إما نعمل recharge نشحنها تاني أو replace نغيرها نبدلها ببطارية جديدة. إمتى نستخدم كل option؟ We can use a new battery if it's not the rechargeable type. لو هي ما بتتشحنش. أو نقدر نعمل لها recharging لو هي rechargeable. Did you also notice the question at the end of the text, which wants us to think about the other energy sources that we think devices use? Many of my students said that we can think of different sources of energy, as some devices use electrical energy as an energy source, while others use fuel. Keep in mind that energy source is one of the key vocab for today's lesson. Let's add it to the concept board in order not to forget it. Energy source من الكلمات المهمة جدا عندنا ومعناها مصادر الطاقة أو مصدر الطاقة. الطاقة دي اللي هنستخدمها عشان نقدر نشغل بيها الأجهزة المختلفة. After we read the text, you must have many questions in your mind. I want you to open page 7 in your book and write 3 questions using question words such as why, how, when, where. The most important thing is to write the questions that help you to think about the devices that you use in your daily life and the type of energy that powers them. Because throughout our study of the concept, we will go back to these questions in order to answer them in a scientific way. يا ترى كتبتوا كل أسئلتكم اللي عاوزين تعرفوها عن الطاقة وتحولاتها؟ Of course, you had many questions about the subject of energy and its transformations to power devices. I'll share with you some of the questions of my students. How some devices like calculators work without battery? How does the electricity from a charger recharge a battery? How does the emergency flashlight work after a power cut? Also, I remember some students when we talked about launching satellites into space, and they wondered how do some types of devices in space get energy? This is what we will explore together in activity 3 in our lesson, Analyze Like a Scientist. First of all, I want you to look carefully at the picture that I have here. Look carefully at the picture. Have you seen it before in a movie or maybe in a book? Or is it like any device you use or something around you? You might see that it looks like a car. Do you see anyone riding it? شايفين حد راكبها؟ This means that it's remotely controlled. مفيش حد راكب. This picture is one of the rover used to explore Mars, one of the planets of the solar system that you studied before in your Discover book. What do you think it's used for? Look at the part at the front. شايفين الجزء اللي في البداية ده؟ In front part, what does it look like? Does it look like a camera that takes photos? Scientists see that there is a possibility that the planet Mars had life billions of years ago. العلماء معتقدين إن كوكب المريخ كان عليه حياة من مليارات السنين، وعشان يتأكدوا استخدموا إيه؟ عشان يتأكدوا بيستخدموا عربيات الاستكشاف rover. To know whether their expectations are correct or not, they send this type of exploration rovers. It's a small vehicle equipped with machines and cameras, which they use to collect pictures and data. Let's get more information about Mars exploration rovers. Open the book on page 8 and look carefully at the picture. أكيد عاوزين نعرف العربة دي هتجيب الطاقة منين، وكمان عاوزين نعرف مين اللي هيتحكم فيها. we need to think about how this rover gets its energy that power it for long periods of time while it's far from planet Earth. Think carefully, how can it move? No humans are in this rover, so it must have a control device like the remote control of toy cars. One of my students also told me that it might be getting energy from batteries working for long time. Large, long-lasting batteries. بطاريات كبيرة بتعيش فترة طويلة. ده تخيل مش أكيد. Or it might be getting energy from the light, like the solar energy. To know whether they are right or wrong, let us begin to analyze the text on page 8 of the book and decide how the exploration rover can get energy while it's in the space. We knew from the text that Mars is a very far away from Earth's surface. It takes a spacecraft about 6 months to get there. What's a very long time? To be able to explore Mars, humans have sent missions, which means exploratory mission. None of these missions have people. البعثات الاستكشافية دي مش بيكون فيها أي إنسان. They all use the remotely operated vehicles or robots from a very long distance. يعني بنستخدم روبوتس بنتحكم فيها من مسافات كبيرة جدا. One of the most famous rovers is the one in the picture, this one, which is named Curiosity. This rover is called Curiosity, and it's used to explore planet Mars. So, how can it move in space? Robots and spacecrafts like Curiosity needs energy to work, exactly like the remote control toys. They need electricity to move and do their tasks. But Mars doesn't have a source of electricity like those we know. بس احنا ما نعرفش ايه مصادر الطاقة اللي موجودة في المريخ. So where does the electricity that powers it come from? Ahmed told me it might be using solar panels, اللي هي solar cells, that converts the solar energy into electrical energy, like the solar panels that we see on light poles. Lighting poles اللي هي lamp posts, عمدان النور اللي تبقى في الشارع. In some places. So how does the rover use this energy? My students thought that the rover might convert solar energy from the sun into kinetic energy. يعني ايه kinetic energy؟ اللي هي الموشن، طاقة الحركة. In order to move. And also thermal energy and electrical energy to operate its sensors in order to identify the objects around it. تاني تلاميذي فكروا في ايه؟ تلاميذي فكروا ان مركبة الاستكشافات بتحول الطاقة الشمسية لطاقة حركة عشان تقدر تتحرك، وكمان بتحولها لطاقة حرارية وطاقة كهربية عشان تشغل أجهزة استشعارها، أجهزة استشعار اللي هي السنسورز. طب انتوا فكرتوا في ايه؟ Of course, these sensors make the rover collect information about the planet it is on. It does its task and sends to the scientists the data they need. Now, after we analyze the text together, it's your turn. I want you to open your book on page 9 and list the ways you thought would help the Mars rover to get its energy to do its mission of exploring the surface of Mars. Now, we get to the end of this lesson. Get ready to review the most important information we learned today. Today, we asked questions like scientists about the energy source used to power devices in our daily lives. سألنا عن إيه؟ مصادر الطاقة, energy sources. We also learned some new terms that will help us in our next lesson, such as the term energy source and the term Earth. which is the planet of the solar system that we live on. Let's add it to the key vocab board. Earth هي كوكب الأرض اللي احنا عايشين عليه. Don't forget to do your role as vocab detectives. Write down in a piece of paper or in your notebook the sentences you find in the text we read together where the terms are used. الterms اللي احنا اتكلمنا عنها دي أي sentence اكتبوها. After that, we will think of a new sentence explaining or clarifying each term. By the way, any one of you can share with me the sentences he or she thought of in the comments of the episode on مدرستنا Facebook page. هستناكوا تشاركوني الجمل اللي كتبتوها في الكومنتس. Until we meet in the next episode, I want you to think about the devices around you and try to guess what is the source of energy for each device and what are the main energy transformations that make the device work. مهمتكم انكم تفكروا في مصادر الطاقة اللي بتشغل الأجهزة اللي بنستخدمها دايماً، وكمان ايه هي التحولات اللي هتحصل للطاقة دي. Thanks to all the scientists who joined us today. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.